Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Apolitical Podcast. I am your leftist host, Caleb, and I'm joined today by my co host.
I am your centrist host, James.
Yeah, and we have an absolutely fantastic episode lined up for y'all this week, and cannot wait to hop right into it. We are recording this on Saturday, February 28th, 2026, and we have reaction to today's strikes in Iran, Trump's State of the Union address, the Clintons' testimonies, and Nick Fuentes' call for the Republican Party to be absolutely destroyed in the upcoming election cycle. Also, stick around to the end for a more lighthearted, truly apolitical topic. First up, we have breaking this morning. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning, doom scrolling Instagram, as one does, and I saw a post from Fox News stating that Tehran had been hit by a joint Israeli-United States missile strike on the capital. It's been a developing situation all day. Trump gave a press briefing about it this morning. There are reports that the Ayatollah leader is dead, and also Iran has been retaliating by bombing all the neighboring Arab countries, which is a little odd, but it's supposedly because they're bombing U.S. hotspots, so bases or places where personnel might be moving or staying. James, if you got that first article up, we had someone from the BBC reporting this morning about stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep, okay. Got it up.
Okay. Break. Okay. Do you have a quote for this?
No. What do you want me to read?
Let's see. I think. I want to see that first section. I guess. Yeah, that whole first section.
This all is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Bahrain,
we'll count back in.
Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar.
Okay.
Khamenei's Tehran compound. Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm making sure I can pronounce all of these words. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Say it like Khamenei. Okay, let's do all of this right here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go back from break. I'm gonna say yes, I've got it right here. I'll switch the screen and start reading it.
Okay, I'll say break, count down to 5, and then go. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Break.
Yep, I've got that pulled up right here. Looks like it says President Donald Trump has said Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead hours after the U.S. and Israel launched a large-scale attack on the country. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier said Khamenei's Tehran compound has been destroyed in a powerful surprise strike, and that there were many signs that the 86-year-old cleric was no more. There has been no confirmation of Khamenei's death from Iranian authorities, and the Iranian news agencies have reported that he is steadfast and firm in commanding the field. Iran has responded to the attack by launching missiles and drones towards Israel and 4 Gulf Arab countries which host U.S. military bases: Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE.
Yeah, so they're bombing everybody back as a result of this. I had seen some stuff on Twitter this morning as I was kind of double-checking, gathering the news for this because this was breaking this morning. I did see that there was supposed to be a press briefing from the Supreme Leader of the Ayatollah, and that never happened, which lends credence to the fact that he probably isn't making it. But I think indications for me point that he probably is gone, if not just for the fact that going almost a full day at this point since the strikes and not speaking at all, probably, if there isn't intercommunication within the actual Iranian government, would probably be demoralizing and probably cause a lot of chain of command issues. So, if he's
it looks like all of the talking has been from other defense ministers and things like that, and not Khamenei has not had any correspondence whatsoever. It's just other people saying that he's okay, which is not a good sign for his life. It seems like he probably is gone, although Israeli intelligence and Trump's Truth Social post aren't the pinnacle of investigative journalism. However, all signs do point to that goal being achieved and Khamenei being taken out.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense, and you could make the argument it makes more sense with the way they've been bombing. I'm personally of the opinion I've been seeing people complain about this and go back and forth about this all day. Of like, why in the world would Iran be actively bombing, putting most of its bombs into the UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, like all these Arab nations that would be more probably closely aligned with Iran's interests. One, I would say a lot of those are, I believe, they are all a part of the Abraham Accords, which puts them as kind of like a pack. Basically, they're kind of connected through the Abraham Accords. Iran's not in that, so there's some amount of dissension there. Um, I think it doesn't. The fact that they're bombing Arab countries along with Israel doesn't actually lend credence to that, because to me, yeah, it makes sense that they are specifically bombing these countries as a saying, like, if you have U.S. personnel in your country, we are going to retaliate against you. I would imagine in an attempt to motivate these people to kick out the United States military and personnel. However, from my very long history career in wartime strategic planning, it doesn't seem like that would probably be very effective, considering that like all these other countries have the United States backing them, and if all the Arab states got together against Iran, in addition to Israel and the United States, Iran would absolutely not survive that at all. So
Yeah, it more so seems like an obligatory, like, saving face. We're gonna lash out at the closest targets possible because that's what we can do. I mean, it does make some strategic sense. We're not. It's not like we're sending fighter jets out of Florida to go hit Iran, right? We're gonna send them out of the UAE. We're gonna send them out of Bahrain. We're gonna send them out of those places because they're closer. They're right there, or off of like the coast. So I guess there is some sense in doing that, but it does just more so seem like we have to retaliate because they hit us, but it'll probably end after a little bit once they feel like they've made their statement.
yeah, I mean, and I don't know. It does feel weird because the statement from Trump and stuff is that this is reaction to nuclear arming. Even though they were just in peace talks, I think a couple like pretty recently, and we also bombed them last year during this Trump admin, specifically targeted strikes on some of the nuclear facilities. So it feels weird that they would be able to get kicked back and processed that quickly after apparently we decimated their entire nuclear infrastructure. I would imagine we probably didn't, and that was just Trump selling it harder than it actually was. But I think that gets us to the next point because, like I said, this just happened more today. There's not a lot of development going on. There's in terms of like knowledge of what's happening on the ground. I think we can kind of pivot now into how we like feel about this and how generally like how we think this is going to probably go ultimately. I think I want to start though with some of Trump's comments on the topic. I have a video. I think it's his briefing this morning after the events. There's two clips from his briefing that I wanted to show. Generally get across like the negative side of this, and then we can talk about the positives too. You got to pulled up, James?
Yep, we can go ahead and watch those right now.
Proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years. As
the first one, and then
the first one. We'll go to the second one.
Yeah. The reason I want to focus these two get a point across that we'll say afterwards, but most of this is pretty just normal for the most part. It was these two that were kind of weird out of everything. So
it has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every...
Yeah. The reason I specifically wanted to look at these two claims, the rest of this is a very, in my opinion, very stereotypical, just very normal briefing for an invasion. I think this is something that I would have, for the most part, there's something, yeah, this seems like something Bush would say or something for the most part. The issues I had with these two clips, and this can kind of get into more opinions on the whole attack plans and everything, is one, possibly the fact that during an official press briefing talking about why it was necessary to invade a foreign country's sovereignty and bomb the capital city, use the word possibly for any of your points does not inspire confidence. And I know that was one bit out of the whole. That there's much more there, and I would recommend everyone to go watch this for themselves. But it's just insane to me that slipped through, and I felt that was okay and reasonable to say, and a reasoning for bombing a sovereign nation.
Yeah, it's when you're making statements like that, especially after you've already done something, right? Kind of the benefit of asking for forgiveness rather than permission is that you can frame it however you want, right? As disingenuous as it might be, you can still frame it. You don't have to say possibly. You say, no, this is what it was. This is why we did, and you can accept that. And so, still choosing to say, well, I don't know. I don't know how much choosing Trump is going on when he's making his speeches, or how much of it is just talking. But saying things like that is weird because you have the benefit of the thing already being over. You're not saying, well, they're doing this so we need to go over there. You're not trying to convince anyone to agree with you that we need to attack. You've already attacked, so you just give the reason why with no questions about it.
100%, yeah. And then on the second clip, the thing I wanted to focus on, I've just been seeing a lot of reaction. I think war, death, always bad. I think some people have been focusing too much on how awful it sounds when he basically is doing the Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die, but it's okay. That's a risk I'm willing to take. And I understand the issue with that. I think that there's probably a lot of issues with the war. I think that is just a natural part of war, and to not comment on it would be doing a disservice to it. However, what is terrifying about that is either Trump is saying that people that are stationed in the area are going to get killed, or he is insinuating a ground war, I would imagine. So, he's insinuating that there's a likelihood of them bombing a boat, bombing a plane, bombing some of the people stationed at bases. But at least to me, the way it expressed, it sounds like it would be troops on the ground type conflict. Now, that's not 100% confirmed by that. This is what it seems like to me. However, I think that would be genuinely concerning if we have any type of boots on the ground conflict in the Middle East. I really don't want to have to get into another forever war in the Middle East. I think those are all awful, especially whenever during the end of the Biden administration, during the end of the Trump administration, beginning of the Biden administration, 2020, 2021, there was a whole pullout in the Middle East because we didn't want our troops to be there anymore. And Trump was even on board with that, even though people had issues with the way Biden finalized it. Putting more troops in there would be bad. And so I'm hoping that's not what he's insinuating there, because there would be a lot of issues with that, I think.
Yeah, hopefully we've learned at this point that boots on the ground in the Middle East is not the best tactic to just start out with, being like, okay, yep, we're going to war with Iran, so let's go ahead and send troops to start knocking on doors. Hopefully, I think we've been in enough wars there to figure that one out. It would be like going back to Vietnam. I feel like we've learned our lesson. Hopefully it is just covering all of his bases. Yeah, we do have active troops stationed in Middle Eastern countries that are being attacked. So, that it's the nature of the job, right? You sign up for the military, you're accepting the fact that you might have to give your life for this country in some situation that you don't even know about yet, which is fair. But yeah, boots on the ground there. Because right now, as far as the bombing of the nuclear compounds last year and this attack this year, you could still make the argument that we have not gotten into a war, just based off of Iran's retaliation, how we've done it, right? What we've done is surgical strikes to hit specific targets, in and out, no boots on the ground. And they are just lashing out in every direction that they can. But it's not been what you would think of when thinking about wars in the Middle East. So You could kind of make a distinction there if you wanted to, but boots on the ground personnel in Iran would throw all of that out the window.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
that we're
100%.
just in a war at that point.
Oh yeah, 100. Yeah,
There's no
because, I mean,
dancing around that.
it'd be awful, and that would come in addition to the fact that Trump was supposed to be the no new wars president, and said stuff like, I think at the end of beginning of Obama's second term, Trump had made a post on Twitter forever ago. So, obviously it's just a long time ago. Situations change, stances change. That's fine, but I think it's just a bit ironic. The quote was something to the effect of, President Barack Obama is going to start a war with Iran because he doesn't know how to negotiate. And it's just a bit ironic that he's currently now in power, and because of negotiations not working out, is now bombing Iran with joint operations with Israel. I want to make it clear, I think I would not shed a single tear if the Ayatollah got decimated, the supreme leader got, and the entire government structure was completely crippled. They're terrible, they're awful, and it's one of the worst cases of Islamic extremism in the current global geopolitical landscape. I think just the same as on the face, I had no issue with Maduro getting kidnapped. I think it's getting people out of power and deposing them who are bad people, who are doing bad things to their country, who the country don't support, who are acting as dictators and murderers and suppressing the voice of the will of the people is good. However, I think what is bad is Trump's continued, if not blatant, it's not complete disregard for the legality and systems in place. At a minimum, it's a dismissal of the importance of acknowledging why things are done in ways that they are, because Trump just doing this spontaneously by himself with no warning, right after peace talks, without giving any warning to anyone in Congress, again, sets a precedent that he is willing to just ignore the systems in place. And this goes alongside with Trump doing that with the Supreme Court decision last week with tariffs. He's just like, I don't care. I'm going to 10% tariff everything. There's a consistent trend line with Donald Trump where he doesn't actually care for the things that are important for global peace and structure that have been important since post World War II, during the Cold War, and now. And I think it's continues to be scary and bad, and is not healthy for the United States on the global political stage.
Yeah, and a quick aside, Khomeini, the supreme leader that sources are saying passed away in the strike last night, is the same guy that Obama was in peace talks with. So it's, again, views can change, but it's not only is it also Iran again, it's the same guy.
Same guy. Yeah.
It's the exact same person. So doesn't look great when you're saying things like that not that long ago. But yeah, it's not a good look to be doing things like this in this way. I mean, a lot of people from Iran, it looks like actual citizens that are living there, normal citizens, are happy about it, right? It would be and I feel like you could say that whatever you think about Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, we have been on the people's side historically in all of those wars we've been in. It was for selfish purposes, it may have been not for the right reasons or not just to liberate, but we were on the people's side in all of those. And this would be the same thing. Who knows why we're really there, but we are technically on the side of the people, and I don't think we've quite reached a point yet where you have to ask the question, do the ends justify the means? I feel like we're still above board for the most part in making these things happen, right? This isn't, CIA Black Op, get the dictator out so we can install our own. We're not there yet.
Yeah, and I mean, Trump has other come out and he wants to give people the power to just force put up their own constitutional republican stuff after this.
Yeah, I saw another quote. It was the government's about to be for the taking. Go and take it.
Yeah, don't take it. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, while I would disagree with a lot of the conflicts for not only our purpose of getting into the conflicts, but also the way we handle most of the historical conflicts as the U.S. Yeah, I would 100% concede on technicality. We are absolutely fighting for the side of people that are fighting for the voice of the people generally. I think the only time that's not would be, I think Iraq is a stronger case of like we're technically we are, but Iraq was really bad. Like the whole Gulf Desert. Oh my gosh, Operation Desert Storm. I think that was it was all hell. But I mean, yeah, and that's why I'm saying this doesn't mean that Donald Trump is a dictator. But what this does is a continued line of Donald Trump not really caring about even coming across as someone who really cares about checks and balances in the U.S. government. And I think that's what is most concerning to me, more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, and this is breaking. I said this just happened this morning, so there's not much else today. We might hopefully have more on next week's episode. But in other news this week, originally the headline topic was going to be the State of the Union address until this morning, and I have a couple video clips that I found in researching and kind of preparing for this episode. 3 specifically that kind of just give the general vibe of what the State of the Union really felt like. It felt mostly like an attack on the Democrat Party and like an opportunity to shame them and make fun of them, less than an actual State of the Union where he just is saying, this is where we started at the beginning of the year, this is where we are now at the end of the year, this is what we're going to do next year. It wasn't that. It felt more like a, look at me, I'm so awesome and great, look at them, they're dumb and stupid. So, yeah, the first clip pulled up.
Yep, I'm going to play that.
Sick.
We can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban it, and we must ban it immediately. Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy, I'm telling you. They're crazy. Amazing. 7. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country. With people like this, Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we? Huh?
Calling whatever, I'm not going to get into the trans discussion. This is more of a news show than anything else. So I want to focus specifically on the crazy part. What is depressing about this is these are people, he's calling elected officials that they are insane. And every single person in the legislative branch, that either in the House or the Senate, is an elected official representing the constituents of their home state that they're serving for. And so by calling all of these people crazy, in my opinion, he is absolutely continuing to push the rhetoric that the constituents that are voting for these people are also crazy, which is really not good and is a continued thing that Donald Trump has done, where he refuses to turn down the us versus them rhetoric and only pushes harder and harder with it every single time he gets the opportunity to. At no point does he truly, I'm not going to talk about 2016. 2016 I wasn't really into politics, but here, now, it feels very much that every single thing that's wrong in America is the left, and the right is perfect and holy and can't do anything wrong. And everyone that is a Democrat is evil and awful. And this doesn't help when you're calling the people who are voting in the constitution. Now, I'm not saying every single person in the legislative branch is 100% doing the will of their constituents, but it's not like trans issues aren't like a pretty big topic within the Democratic space. Like, a lot of people are for it. And so, like, it continued, just continue turning up the heat in this us versus them mentality in politics. And it's bad that Trump refuses to turn it down in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's one of the, like, in my opinion, one of the most damaging things to our entire political climate, right? Two-party system, going all the way back to George Washington. He knew two-party system is not not it. Not a great idea. He's still engaged in it, and I think that was, you know, a foresight where you can say the two-party system is, not going to work out and not healthy, but you still have to engage in it. Even in the first election, the first president knew two-party system not healthy, but still had to engage in it. And here we are, the big 2026 two-party system not healthy. You still have to engage in it. So it turns the question into, how do we make the two-party system as healthy as possible? Because I really don't think we are going to have like multiple legitimate parties. And honestly, I don't even think I like the idea of having multiple legitimate parties. I think even less will get done when you have more interests that aren't aligned, right? If you want to get something done now, you have to be left or right, and then you have to come together on a thing, right? But if all of a sudden you have a bunch of political parties for each individual thing, less will happen because everyone's going to try and make their single thing that they care about happen, and no one else in the government's going to care about it. So I think it's all about just tearing down the us versus them mindset, right? And turning political parties, taking the labels that we currently have on Republicans and Democrats and tearing those down and making it more of a, just a thing you have to file under when you want to run for an office or a position.
Okay. Do you want to get that second clip pulled up?
Yeah, we can go ahead and get into this one.
The second clip is kind of more of the same, but there's, but I still think it was important to watch. So.
To join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not the legal alien. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot to say in this one. We just did a whole discussion about left, right, turning up the temperature and everything, so I want to kind of steer away from that. I think with this clip, there's two things I want to focus on. First, most notably, I understand as somebody who is left-leaning completely and entirely why the Democratic Party, and all of them besides Fetterman, of course, because Fetterman's just a Republican, refuse to stand for that. This is due to the fact of Trump basically using this as a scapegoat for all the country's problems. The immigrants, this is Trump sending ICE into the cities that don't want them, with LA and Chicago and Minneapolis. This is also in regards to Trump actually Whether you want to blame Trump or not, he's at the top of the chain of command, and 2 ICE agents killed 2 American citizens. So Trump's DHS does technically have blood on their hands. Whether that's, it's a different conversation, whether it's justified or not, but it did happen. So there is a lot of incentive for the Democrats to say, while they might obviously agree with that statement, what Trump is trying to do with it is inherently to just have a piece to go back and look how bad the Democrats are. Look, it's all a hit piece basically. The entire purpose of this was specifically a hit piece to the Democratic Party because he knew they wouldn't stand up because there's so many issues they have with this current immigration policies. And then second, and then you can chime in with whatever you want, James. The second thing I wanted to say is, however, despite that, obviously this is still going to have massive repercussions for the Democrats coming into the midterm election. I don't know how much this will actually affect midterm Democrat electability. However, the Republicans are I would have to imagine, going to run wild with pictures and videos and clips talking about Democrats don't care about Americans, they just care about illegals, and it's going to be just pictures and mugshot framings of all the Democratic lawmakers sitting down after Trump says that, and it's not going to be good, and it's going to make it difficult for them. And so I don't necessarily know what the right decision would have been because I fully understand the perspective of why they didn't, but this is absolutely going to be used against them and will probably be incredibly effective as well.
Yeah, in that clip you can see a lot of the Democrats that are sitting down while everyone else is standing and cheering are wearing stickers that say release the Epstein files, stand with the survivors or the victims. And so not only is it a protest to because it's all the way back to that mentality of you tell me not to do something, I want to do it, and you tell me to do something, I'm probably not going to do it, even if it's you should brush your teeth. Oh, now I don't want to do it anymore. I might have done it. Now I don't want to do it anymore. You tell me to stand, I'm just on principle. I kind of want to just sit now. I kind of don't want to stand anymore. And when you're doing something like this, it's like the classic Bo Burnham song, Welcome to the Internet. He has a line, Obama sent the immigrants to vaccinate your kids. And that's basically what Trump is doing here, where it's taking a topic, or it's taking the entire left, and it's just mixing it all together. And it's saying, oh, well, everything you stand for is somehow tied together in destroying the country. Right? But it's a good thing I'm here to hold it together. Right? It's all of this bad stuff is going on, and you're somehow piecing all of these different things together that are just, at the end of the day, just things that you care about. But no, all of them are actual, this concerted effort to tear down the nation. But also, not standing is a direct reflection of, what was her name? Was it Pam Bondi? Mm-hmm. Not standing with the survivors.
Oh, yeah. That's your point, actually.
And refusing to stand when the survivors were right there. Or to literally refusing to stand and acknowledge them, and also refusing to take a stand for them and back them up in any way, or support them, or address them in any way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I actually hadn't even thought of it. I think that is a good mirror to look back on. This just something this crazy didn't just happen 2 weeks ago, where Pam Bondi, in a hearing about Epstein, refuses to stand up and apologize that they're not doing the best job that they could be doing on getting justice for the people who were harmed. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's crazy. The news moves so quickly that I even kind of forgot about that because there's just so much happening so quickly that it's crazy to think that the United States at any point went so crazy over one thing with Nixon. It's just Watergate. Whenever this administration has had 50 at this point, how fast the news moves through everything, how many brand new weekly massive scandals there are that just get forgotten about in a week. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just Iran-Contra. It was just Watergate. It was just an affair with Clinton. Now it's, how do you even categorize Trump? What is the one thing? Which term do you pick? What is the one thing? There is no. It's just something new every single day, and it's huge. Like I feel like, maybe not Watergate was big. Iran-Contra was big, but it's starting to feel like with how they're being portrayed, it almost feels like they're trying to make them bigger than those things. Because I would say Iran-Contra was horrible. It was so bad, and I would argue not even 100% Reagan's fault. I'm not gonna be a Reagan apologist, but I think a lot was done behind. I think it had bigger implications for government, how it operated. Just the fact that was able to happen without his knowledge. Like I feel like that should be bigger, but now it feels like, every time Trump opens his mouth or a story is breaking, they're being made to seem like they're bigger deals than even that, or bigger deals than Watergate. And it's like, is it a bigger deal? Should I be that worried about it? Like I feel like stuff like that and Watergate have much bigger repercussions for the entire system, whereas now it's like a story about Democrats not standing when Trump asks them to stand is even bigger news than that. It's like, hold on a second. I don't think it is. I don't think this us versus them mentality is bigger than like actual like issues. But yeah. Sure, I guess if that's what you want to feed me, I guess I'll eat it because I have to. What else? What else am I gonna do?
I mean, I think that's actually perfect. Goes back to the original point that I was trying to make about like there needs to be some type of turn down of the temperature. And in an attempt to do that, actually, this is perfect segue into the next video. There was one clip from the State of the Union that I actually really did like, and I'm happy that Trump talked about it. If you want to get the pulled, this was in reference to new regulation on AI data centers. This was one thing that I actually agreed with. If you want to get that pulled up.
Yep, got that right here.
Concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years.
I think that's just positive. I think the AI should be a bipartisan issue, and this may be not all that I would want to see, but this is a step in the right direction. AI, like the two biggest issues that I personally have, besides the moral implications with like AI art and taking over jobs and stuff, from like a pure resource and logistical standpoint, the two biggest issues I have is strain of the electric grid and consumption of fresh water. And this helps to at least start the process of tackling strain of the electric grid. Not only does this reduce potential failures on the electric grid because of just like the amount of energy it's consuming, but this also helps the pricing of electricity for all the people in the local community be more stable and a little bit lower. So this is I mean, that's just positive. I unless something crazy happens with that, I am fairly on board with that as a good first step of force the AI companies to create their own power stations and work on basically their own tiny private grid for each individual power station to, like I said, prevent costs from just shooting and skyrocketing, and also to prevent strain on the power system, like what happened with like Texas. That would be probably back in 2021 with the whole grid failed. That would probably only be made worse if there were a bunch of AI data centers that were also trying to eat up the power while everyone else was freezing to death. So yeah,
it will in practice probably eventually propose some unintended side effects, right? Just thinking, I think it is good. For the record, I think it is good to get ahead of it, because AI, with all new things, you can only react. You can't be forward thinking with things that are new, right? The government cannot be ahead of AI because AI is the new thing. So trying to stay as up to date as possible and then following along with it. Like, I'm glad with everything else that's happening, right? Getting into Iran, the us versus them mindset that they're just constantly pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm glad that they're keeping an eye on AI, right, and still making things happen. It does go to show that this administration, while completely wild in what they're saying and some of the things that they're doing and the way they're acting, they are still paying attention to the things that are important and do affect everyday people, right? Whether or not it's just here's a band-aid fix to try and shore up some voters or whatever. It is a good thing. What is it actually going to look like? Are AI data centers now going to require twice the amount of space that they would have taken up because they're going to have to build a power plant there? It's not going to look great for the carbon footprint of AI data centers. It's about to get significantly worse because they're going to have to build their own power plants unless they go nuclear. Which, I mean, could be a positive if AI data centers start telling people, like the government, hey, we want to build nuclear because it's the cleanest, most efficient option. Maybe we could start looking at using nuclear again, which is an entirely different topic, but it would be interesting to see the conversation there because it is very clean and very efficient. But it's just... It is good. I'm glad that they are keeping an eye on things like AI that we can't stay ahead of, but we can try to keep up with.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of the few where I think a lot of stuff is bad. This is one of the few things where there are still, at least at some level, people in the government that are occasionally doing things for the people, and it is important to recognize that because every single person is a person, and despite the fact that I fundamentally disagree with this administration on basically everything, trying to find common ground with something can be one of the steps to hopefully turn down the temperature. Not in this administration, I don't think it's possible, but after Trump is gone, with the next person, trying to desperately find something to find common ground on is the first step of turning down the temperature and trying to get back to some type of normal or whatever new normal will look like. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like things like taking down the leadership in Iran and for the people of Iran, like that, in my mind, that should be something that Democrats want to do. Or maybe not in the way it was done or anything like that, but I feel like they would be the ones fighting for people's rights, which is what ultimately happened. AI should be bipartisan as it affects everyone equally at the end of the day. So that should be an everyone issue. Also, not to go on a big tangent about it right now, but AI, as I really don't like it, I hate that RAM prices are expensive because of it. I can't build a new computer, which sucks. But realistically, AI is a good stepping stone and tool to eventually get to a universal basic income that makes sense, that everyone can agree on, because of how much work it can do and how many costs it cut, or how much cost it cuts. It's going to cut so much cost in jobs, and it's going to be able to fill so many positions. I feel like it is a legitimate way. Like I see a path to a universal basic income through AI. Just with it's not going anywhere, right? You can, like, I don't like AI, but realistically, it's not like we're gonna come together as a nation and be like, yeah, AI bad, we're not gonna do it anymore. Like, that's just not gonna happen. But it can be used for good in some way. There are some jobs that AI can do that are legitimate and real. I don't think it should be making movies or songs or art, but it can crunch the numbers. We probably don't need so many number crunchers in, like, butts in seats crunching numbers. It can probably do that. I think I'd be okay with that. So, and if it can lead to a universal basic income, I think that is a positive thing that it could do, trying to stay optimistic about AI.
I mean, yeah, if anything, and I think that goes alongside of, but the only way something like that's going to happen and be positive is if there is bipartisan support pushing for a vision, not just a what we want, what they want, but a overarching vision of how it is going to be used in society and how it's going to be integrated into society, and then how are we going to safeguard society from the issues of it. And that does need to be bipartisan because of how foundational if it doesn't go anywhere, which I doubt it will. um, it has to be bipartisan, or else it's not going to be as effective. Any legislation is what I'm talking about, at truly creating a social vision for what AI is and its place in society. So yeah, I could absolutely see that being the case. Universal basic income would be sick. So awesome. Okay. I think that was it for that one. And next up, we had a little callback a couple weeks ago. I think our first episode, we had talked about Hillary Clinton wanting to do a live testimony in front of the Epstein Oversight Committee. And this week, we finally got some stuff from Bill and Hillary in front of the Oversight Committee. If you want to go, Bill's article was pretty short and sweet. There was a bit more detail on Hillary's, but we're going to kind of quickly cover both and then hog on to our last topic. If you have Bill's pulled up.
So right here, former President Bill Clinton finishes testimony before members of Congress for their investigation over convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The closed-door deposition ended after more than 6 hours of questioning from lawmakers about his connections to the disgraced financier. I saw nothing and I did nothing wrong, the former Democratic president said in an opening statement he shared on social media at the outset of the deposition.
Yeah, which is pretty similar for Hillary, if you want to pull up Hillary, so it didn't stray too far away from that, like, at all.
All right, yep, I got this one. I got Hillary's statement right here. I had no idea about their criminal activities. I do not recall ever encountering Mr. Epstein, Hillary Clinton said in an opening statement she shared on social media. The closed-door deposition concluded Thursday after over 6 hours of Hillary Clinton giving an answer to every question.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it ended up not being a film thing, which Hillary said she wanted, and then the person that was going to be in charge said they would let happen, neither of which happened. However, what didn't happen was basically anything. So as far as we're aware, based on the little articles I've read, we're basically just exactly where we were before we went in. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't see anything bad happen. That's it. So it's like, okay, great. So we just had 6 hours 12 hours of taxpayer money was spent on nothing of substance, which there might have been something more substantive if it was actually live, because then the people would be able to see exactly what was happening and might feel there might be a bit more pressure on both the Clintons and the Oversight Committee to actually do something instead of just a bunch of nothing. So, I mean, like I said, there's not much there. I don't know if you have anything you really want to comment on. It's what is the statement? Nothing ever happens, basically.
Yeah, nothing ever happens. Everything stays the same. I mean, a public deposition would be cool. I just think because it's nice as a dude on my couch to be able to have an insight and watch these things happen live. One, from a standpoint of just learning how they work, right? Like, why in your life would you ever actually care about how, like, a deposition goes? And it really probably is not all that useful information. But it is nice to learn more about how our government works, and watching it happen live is probably the best way to do that. And there's also pressure on the on the Clintons, on whoever is being deposed, as well as pressure on the people running the deposition, right? They have to look strong when they are giving this deposition. If it's all behind closed doors, they can kind of just try and get in, get out, right? Ask the questions, be done. Whereas if it was done live, they might be more they might be trying to attack a little bit harder to seem strong for the cameras. So I think doing it publicly would have been more fruitful, but also could have been a waste of time if they were going to just stick to what they said, which was ultimately nothing.
Yeah, that the only other thing I think I really want to comment on here, because there's not much of substance this week for that sort of Epstein stuff, is just I think it would have also been interesting to get some type of contrast between the way Pam Bondi was carrying herself, shall we say, and the Oversight Committee versus the Clintons. I think that would have been positive, and would have been a good opportunity for the Clintons to not be insane, I guess, in a hearing like that. So I think that would have been beneficial for the Democrats, but I mean, it didn't happen. There's nothing that can be done. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, James. Or...
No, I think it is just nothing happening and things staying the same. Hopefully, I mean, the only positive I see out of it is that their depositions are done now, so we can get to the next person.
Yep.
Right. At least, you know, if nothing was found out, sometimes you have to look through a ton of different haystacks until you find the needle. Hopefully this was just part of that process and we're still on the way to finding, you know, something. It's anything. I don't even care what it is. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy at this point. Just anything would probably be nice. And hopefully whoever is being deposed next can help get there or be a stepping stone, hopefully.
That would be awesome. Okay, well, last up on our primary list of topics for the week, we have my mortal enemy, who, once again, I think I said this in the first episode. He doesn't know he's my mortal enemy. That's okay. Nick Fuentes came out this week in one of his live streams, and he was very, very, shall we say, aggressive towards the GOP. I have a video posted. James, you want to get that pulled up, and we can talk about it more after the clip.
They have to lose. They have to crash and burn. A cleansing fire is the only thing that will save us. It cannot be fixed. Fuck them. Fuck Trump. Fuck MAGA. Fuck all this stuff. It can't be fixed. If it could have been fixed, it would have been fixed in 2025, but it wasn't. They made every mistake. Liberation Day, disaster. Doge, disaster. Big Beautiful Bill, disaster. Epstein files, disaster. Iran, disaster. The personnel, Mike Waltz, disaster. Ratcliffe, disaster. Rubio, disaster. Pam Bondi, disaster. All self-inflicted. Trump personnel, Trump policy, Trump strategy, Trump playbook. We tried it your way. It didn't work. Fuck you. Now we don't vote. That's the message. Seriously. Can't blame anybody else. Bad advice, bad advisors, Biden's economy. Enough already. It didn't work. We're not voting. I'm staying home. And you know what? I hope the Democrats impeach him. I hope the Democrats impeach all of them. I hope they indict everybody. I hope they depose and compel the release of documents. And I hope they find all the criminal behavior. And I hope it destroys the GOP. I hope it creates a crisis for the GOP so severe that they never recover. And then I hope we get a fucking Nazi to run in 28. And I mean that metaphorically. I don't mean that literally. I hope we get a fucking fascist to run in 28 to burn the GOP down as a dark horse and win the presidency as a right-wing radical. Don't vote. Do not vote.
Yeah. Well, there's two main things I wanted to pull out of this. First, I think this is a very clear, obvious sign that there is splintering in the right. Something that has been relatively true in the kind of modern era of politics is that the left has been more splintered between your actual leftists and your liberals. And there's been like infighting between both of those groups. I think Israel-Palestine issues, think the tankies and like communists and stuff. And then on the right, everyone might have these large disagreements on topics, but everyone's just been completely willing to drop all their arms and just rally behind Donald Trump, which is not something that happened with like Kamala, where you have like someone like Hassan Piker, like not like. I believe he did end up voting for Kamala, but like he wasn't very like, okay, well, this is the person that we got to vote for. Go out and do it. Like, wasn't very supportive. Whereas the right, they are very supportive. They rally behind the person. They have been. This is, I think, a starting sign that there is splintering in the Republican Party and the factions. And I think this is positive for the left in America to take like a hold of the situation and really rally behind candidates in the midterms and the next presidential cycle to get people across the country and positions in the government to start kind of fixing things, in my opinion. And this also, I would hope, will lead to the realization that maybe rallying behind a singular figure isn't healthy for the state of our democratic republic, and maybe we shouldn't do that again. Which gets me on to topic 2, which is just the rhetoric with the putting a Nazi or a fascist and whatever that means metaphorical. I have no idea what that really means when you say metaphorical. So those are both things that we can go ahead and tackle if you want to go ahead and say whatever you want, James.
Yeah, I think we're definitely hitting an inflection point, if we haven't already, of the right splintering. I think it took a lot of I don't want to say strong arming, but it took a lot of sweet talking, I guess, to get everyone to rally in 2024. Even with COVID, right? No matter who was president, the president, whoever was president during COVID, probably would not have remained in office, right? No matter how it's handled, that those type of things just tend to
Reduce favorability.
Get presidents, lose favorability, and they kind of just go. But even then, it took a lot of effort to get. It was still close to get everyone to rally together, and promises aren't being kept. They are actively flip-flopping, right? We're going to release the documents. Actually, we're not. What documents? They don't exist. We can't release them if they don't exist, right? No new wars. I would say, to be as fair as possible, I would say there is still an argument we are not in a war, but we are getting real close. It is. If we go much further, we probably will be in a new one, and there won't be any arguing it. So all of that, right? The people that came from the moderate side aren't seeing their promises delivered, and radicals are not seeing enough radical things happen, right? It's like neither side is being kept happy. So the facade of Trump being that guy for everyone is definitely failing. And I think that is a good thing. It's kind of this... it kind of leads into this gray area of, well, the two-party system sucks, right? We don't want an us versus them. But rallying around one guy instead of picking a party is also not the answer. So we have to find somewhere in the middle of that to make the government work properly. I don't have the answers for that. But, I think it is good. Everything up until Nick Fuentes says that we should have a metaphorical Nazi run. There are definitely different ways you can take it, and knowing his track record with saying it, he could have just said that at the end. I'm in full honesty, he could have just said that at the end to get this clip, right? Just so he could throw the word Nazi in there and to make this clip blow up. It probably would not have gone as crazy if he didn't say that at the end. He could also just fully mean it. With his record, he could also just mean it. But I think the interpretation that I would like to have of it is that if Democrats impeach Trump and we just get rid of him, then having someone that is even worse, right? If we have someone become president that is what people think Donald Trump is, right? An actual fascist, metaphorical Nazi, whatever that means, that would be the final nail in the coffin of the grand old party. It would be done. If they actually got someone like that to become president, it would be over. It would be over. They would have to a full reboot of the entire party. It would take after that, right? And I would like to have hope. I would like to be an optimist and say it's not going to take that, right, to reset the party. I still have hope for the Republican Party that it can restore itself without something like that. But I do also think that would kill it. I absolutely think that would be the end of it.
Yeah,
that would force them to reset. Yeah.
Taking it from there, that would there would be so much negative stigma around it that you would have to rebrand so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I am in the firm camp that I do think Nick Fuentes is a Nazi or a neo-Nazi or a white supremacist, all that stuff. However, assuming for sake of discussion he's not, I mean that would be, I feel like, perfectly fine. Like, yeah, that would probably be the case. That train of thought is logical for if that happens, the GOP's done. Like, they ain't recovering from that. So awesome. Yeah, I think that will probably do it for all of our main topics for the week. Yeah, it was a crazy week, a lot of stuff. Like I said, the original headline topic was going to be the State of the Union, but we ended up having bombs in Iran this morning. It's just fantastic. But to go ahead and shift us on over to our truly apolitical section, we have a topic this week that both me and James are super excited for. And that would be Resident Evil 9 looks sick. It just came out. I need to play it. I'm so excited for it. James, have you played all the Resident Evil games?
I've played... Actually, no. I've barely played any. I've played 2. I've played 3. I've played 7. And I think that's it. 4 is probably going to happen soon. 9, after hearing all the talk about it, probably might even happen before 4. But yeah, it looks... I mean, I loved 2, the remaster, and I loved 7. And I'm sure if I played 8, I would have also enjoyed it a lot. But seeing, apparently it looks like 9 is a combination of the 2. Leon is a lot more... When you're playing as Leon, it's all suggested to play in third person. It's a lot more action. Like 4, you're doing a lot more fighting. When you're playing as a female character whose name escapes me, it's recommended you play in first person, and seems more horror-based, like 7 and 8, which I think is really cool. It seems like they've done a really good job merging the two, and it sounds like a lot of fun.
I am looking forward to it. I hope that we get 9, and I hope the next 2 games, just like how they did like the breaks in between, we got the remake for 2, 3, we got the 4. I really hope we get a remake for 5, maybe even 6 before the next mainline release after this game, because yeah, I didn't really play a lot of the Resident Evil games growing up, but a couple of years ago I went through and replayed 2, 3, 4 remaster, and then I played 7 and 8, and they are so good. Oh my gosh, they're awesome. And I am so happy for Old Man Kennedy. And I also really like the dichotomy between our action and the horror, because like I can just choose, like, do I want to play just one? Do I want to play both? Which one do I want to play now? If I want the cool horror stuff, I can do that. If I want to play the action, I can do that. I think that's just, God, Capcom is just absolutely killing it with these remakes, and it is so good. And there is one thing, this makes me sad, that Dead Space is not going to get any more remakes because it didn't sell as well, despite Dead Space 1 remake being so beautiful. We're never going to get 2 or 3, and it's so sad because the Resident Evil ones are so good, and they slap so hard every single time, and I just, yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up Resident Evil 9. Did you play did we play the remake for Dead Space? We played that at my house at one point, like back forever ago.
Yeah, we've played the remake for Dead Space. Was really good. It looked amazing. It felt good. I didn't play the original, so I don't know how faithful it was, but it felt really nice to play, which is the biggest thing for me. I know I am not a purist. I skip the cutscenes. First time I play through games, I'm horrible.
Yes.
I'm horrible, and I will repent. However, it is something about just playing these games on newer engines. Speaking of remakes, Metal Gear Solid 4 is free from the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 2, whichever one it came out on, and it will be getting a remake soon, and I'm super excited for that because it is the only mainline Metal Gear game that has not gotten a remake.
Oh, did they already do 1, 2,
and also
3?
Peace Walker. Yeah, so they remade Metal Gear, the original 1 and 2, and then they remade Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, got remakes, and then they made Delta, which was a complete rework of 3, but 4 just recently is available to be remade. I think it had a deal with the console it was on as an exclusive, which is why they weren't able to remaster it for new consoles or for PC, but I think it's free, that deal now. So hopefully a Peace Walker and a Metal Gear Solid 4 remake would be coming soon, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, the level of quality for basically all the complete remakes of games have been awesome. Oblivion, Dead Space, Resident Evil, the Metal Gear Solid, everything that's been fully remade has been fantastic. I'm also like the Halo remakes coming out this year. I don't know. Maybe next week's this we're about to wrap it up, so I'll say I think next week's topic might be the just absolutely gobsmacking ridiculous lineup of video games and movies this year. It is if we don't all die in nuclear war, this is going to be a great year for video game and movie people. Oh my god! I think it's going to be next week's topic. I am so looking forward to that.
A lot of exciting things ahead.
Yes, as long as you don't get drafted. Woo!
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is going to do it for the Apolitical podcast this week. I have been your host, Caleb.
And I have been your centrist host, James. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow our socials where we post clips and any updates about the show. Any engagement goes a long way for pushing the video to a wider audience.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you all again for next week's episode.